पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So we continue our journey on Sri Ishopanishad, the knowledge that brings one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. So in the introduction, we have seen that we have got 4 defects. And since we have the defects, we need the Vedas. The Vedas give us universal and axiomatic wisdom. Vedic knowledge is superior to Pratyaksha and Hanuman knowledge. Krishna, or the only way to know about trans realm, is Vedas. Krishna is the ultimate goal of the Vedas, and we have seen the history of the Vedas. So Ishopanishad is basically distributed into 5 parts. The first part is invocation to Shloka 3, which helps us understand how to live in harmony with Ishvara. Shloka 4 to 8 is that the Ishvara can be understood with spiritual vision. Shloka 9 to 11, which we are starting today, is going to talk about right and wrong Vidya. Shloka 12 to 14 will be about right and wrong Upasana, and then the last 4 shlokas will be prayers for the Ishvara to reveal himself. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. The personality of Godhead is complete and perfect. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So here we understand how God is complete absolute truth, material world is complete, human form offers complete facility. We understood how sense gratification is illusory and how devotional service is the real completeness. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrodha kasyasvidadhanam. So here we understand everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So here in this shloka, we understand the glories of the Vedic knowledge, how the Lord is the proprietor of everything, how everyone's quota is there in nature, how there is quota in human position of earth, how there is quota in human diet, and how we can live according to Ishavasya principle. Asurya nama te loka andena tamassa vrataha tamste pratyagi bhigachanti ye kecha atmana hanojana. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So here we understand how karma bandhana leads to death, how human life offers liberation through akarma, how Vedas lead ultimately to akarma, how we have to begin by bringing Krishna into sense gratificatory life, how without Krishna everything is in vain, and how we can make all altruisms into karma yoga. कुर्वाणेव हि कर्माणि जिजि विशेषशातं समः एवं त्वेन अन्यथेतो अस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So here we understand who is demon, who is soul killer, how we have to liberate soul and not kill it. Or if you don't use the facilities of human life form, then we'll have to live worse than animals in this life and go to hell in next. How failure may be still glorious. So definitely if we succeed, it is better. How modern politicians act as demons and how to solve all problems. Anijade kamanaso javiyo nainadeva apnuan purvamarshad tad dhavato anyanatyeti tishtat tasmin apomata vrishya dadati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply the air and rain. He is the most excellent. So here we understand how absolute truth cannot be understood by speculation. How revelation helps to understand Krishna and his energies. How energies are non-different yet different. How because we are limited, we can understand unlimited only through his revelation. How we have to play our part and we'll get the understanding. Tad ejati tannay jati tad dure tad u antike tad antarasya sarvasya tad u sarvasya astya bayatah. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, yet he is outside of everything. So here we understood how Supreme must be inconceivable. How absolute truth is far yet near. We have understood the science of deity worship. We understood how Nirguna yet Saguna and how Lord pervades everything, yet is separate from it. यह तु सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्मानि एव अनुपश्यति सर्वभूतेषु च आत्मानां ततो न विजुगुप्सते. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. So here we understood Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, Uttam Adhikari, and the difference between false and real. यस्मिन् सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्म एव भूद्विजनतः तत्र को मोहकः शोकः एकत्वम् अनुपश्यतः. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual works in quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusory or anxiety for him? So here we understood oneness between energy and the energetic. Oneness in quality but not in quantity. Oneness in interest brings enjoyment. How separate interests cause Shloka and Moha, and how we can become one in interest with God. Saparyagacha shukram akayam avranam ashnaviram shuddham apapa vidham kavihin manasi paribhu swayambhu yathata achyato arthan vyadodhat chashvatibhya samabhyah. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without pretense, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient supplier who has been fulfilling everyone's desires since time immemorial. So here we have understood about Akayam, how he is unembodied, Ashnaviram, how he is without reins. We have seen how Lord is omnipotent. We have seen how he is fulfiller of desires, how he is supreme, paripura, how he is self-sufficient, how he is antiseptic and prophylactic. And that is where we now start our journey to the next shloka, that is shloka number 9. So these were some important aspects, the first part which gets covered here, the first two parts basically. So we have understood how it is important that we get to know Krishna, how he holds everything. So that was the first part that we understood. From invocation to shloka number 3, how it is important to live in harmony with Ishvara. And then from shloka number 4 to 8, we have understood how Ishvara can be understood by spiritual vision. And now we are starting the study of right and wrong Vidya, or the right and the wrong knowledge for understanding Ishvara. So we already have seen Veda means knowledge. Veda comes from the word Vida, and Vida means to know. So Vedas means to know. So the question comes, what is it that the Vedas expect us to know? The Vedas expect us to know the ultimate truth, which is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is where, having understood it, now we try to understand the remaining aspects. Andattamah pravishanti ye Vidyayam Upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo Vidyayam Ratah. Those who engage in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. Andhattamah pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tatah bhuya ivate tamah vidyayam ratah. So what it means here is that gross ignorance, that is andham, and tamah is the darkness. So darkness of gross ignorance. And what is it related to here? Pravishanti. Enter into, and who enter? Those who ye avidyam upasate, worship nescience. And why or against what they do it? Tatah, than that of bhuyaha. Still more. What more? Like they darkness. Like ivate tamaha. And what are they doing? Vidyayam Ratah, in the culture of knowledge. That is, Ratah is engaged. So those who engage in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. First still are those engaged in the culture of so-called, just see whether it is Vidya or Avidya. If it is not directed at the right place, then it is very bad, and it will result in us going into the darkest regions. Andham tamha pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tata bhuya ivate tamha vidyayam ratah. So here we'll understand why Vidya is lesser of a problem than Avidya. What do you mean by Avidyam Upasate? Who are the Vidyayam Ratah? How godless modern education is a problem. What is Vedavata Ratah and Mayayapahrita Jnana? So all these concepts are going to be covered in this particular shloka. So when we are talking about Vidya, then automatically we are also talking about Avidya, because both go as two sides of the same coin. So definitely ignorance is dangerous. What is mentioned here is even Vidya is more dangerous when it is mistaken or misguided. And that is where this becomes all the more important. Because what we see today is that under the name of Vidya, under the name of knowledge, many wrong things are happening. While knowledge and Vidya has to be on how do I identify myself, how do I understand why I am here, how do I understand what is the source of troubles that I have, what is the source of my anxiety, how do I resolve it, and how do I go to a place which is permanent, shashwat, and how do I re-establish my original position. But we find that the knowledge that we are extending today has got absolutely nothing about it. It is stressing more on material advancement, and that is why the spiritual aspect of life is getting neglected. So we understood that Ishavasya idam sarvam. And if we have a forgetfulness of this fact, then that is ignorance. The more we forget, the more we are going to be in that. And so a godless civilization, on the basis of this so-called advancement of education, and we find that now even foreign universities are going to be permitted to establish in India. So it's only going to result in a civilization of masses who are less educated. So the ultimate objective of education is going to be missed, which Prabhupada has clearly mentioned as the karmis or the modhas. And that is why it is important. See, the karmis, jnanis, yogis, the karmis of these, The karmis are fully dedicated for activities of sense gratification. And that is what 99.9% of the human civilization is currently. So whether it is industrialization, economic development, becoming the topmost economic country, whether it is altruism, political activism, so on and so on. So they're all on the basis of sensual gratification to the exclusion of the real knowledge. That is why they're all mudas. That is what Krishna also says in 7.15. How the karmis, they're acting like mudas. Mudas means ass. So he's very strong about it. When he says that what you are doing is an activity which is suitable enough for an ass. Why do you want to do it? Why? It is not at all necessary. But still what happens is we still hanker behind the material objectives. That is where we all go wrong. That is where we need to overcome. Namam duskritono mudha prapadyante naradhamaha maya apahrita jnana asurambhavamashvita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. And if you are part of this, then we will not be able to surrender to Krishna. Well, Krishna has directed, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mashuja. So while Krishna is expecting that we surrender, if we are going to be remaining to be foolish, if you are going to be having our knowledge stolen by illusion, and we continue to be atheistic, then we will not be able to surrender unto Krishna. Namam dushkrito no mudha prapadyante naradhama maya apahrita jnana asuram bhavam ashasita. So this is where the whole concept is, that ass is a symbol of stupidity. So if you are going to be running after sense gratification, then we are into Avidya. And anyone who is doing the role of helping this in the name of giving better education, then they're doing more. That is why such Vidya is more harmful. See, practically speaking, Avidya, Prabhupada compares, and in fact, not Prabhupada, it's the literatures which Prabhupada has quoted. It is like a valuable jewel on the head of a cobra. Now, if a cobra in any way is going to be dangerous, but if he has got a jewel, Nagamani, then he is more dangerous, because everyone will be attracted towards that and everyone will try to get that. And as a result, the cobra will keep biting. In Hari Bhakti Subhodaya, the advancement of education is compared to decorations on a dead body. Now, this is a system in India and also in many other countries where the dead are taken in a procession so that all the lamenting relatives, they are able to express this. Similarly, the modern civilization, it's a patchwork of activities which is covering the perpetual miseries of material existence. And that is why they are actuated towards sense gratification. That's where our mistake happens, because above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. So the real realm of education should be about self-realization, realization of the spiritual value of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such realization is considered as avidya or nescient. And that is what Prabhupada ji keeps on mentioning. And if someone is trying to cultivate such culture of nescience, then he is going to go to the darkest region. So we need to bring us back to Godhead. So in Bhagavad Gita 2.42, as well as 7.15, which are quoted right now, Namam Dushkritino Mudha Prapadyante Naradhama Mayayapahrita Jnana Asuram Bhavam Ashrayati. So, as you can see here, it's clearly mentioned how it is dangerous. So, this Maya Apahrita Jnana, they are very, very dangerous. Because they believe that they are doing something good. But actually, they are not doing anything. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravaddanti vipaschitah Vedavad Ratah partha na anyat asti iti vadinah. Men of small knowledge are very much attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of self gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So, though they are learned in Vedic literature, they are diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. And so, they are all the more dangerous for the civilization as they keep on increasing our problem. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohonam cha Vedescha sarver aham vedyo Vedanta krut veda vid eva cha aham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas, is what Krishna says. So, the purpose of Vedas is to know personality of Godhead. But the Vedvrata, they are not interested in Krishna. They are fascinated by the fruitive results of attainment of God. So ideally, we should be knowing about Krishna as proprietor of everything, and we must try to keep him satisfied. And we ourselves being satisfied with whatever is our portion. And the purpose of Veda is to awaken the God consciousness in us who are forgetting. And this same purpose is also presented in various ways in different scriptures of the world. The ultimate purpose of all religions is to bring one back with God. But Vedvrata people, instead of realizing this, take it for granted. And they continue for the side effects. For sense gratification, the lust for which actually is the cause of the material bondage. So they misguide others by misinterpreting Vedic literature. At times they even condemn Puranas. So Vedvrata give their own explanation, neglecting the authority of great teachers, acharyas, and also raise unscrupulous person among themselves and present him as Vedic exponent. So they are condemned in this mantra by the word Vidyayam Ratah. So Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas because Vedas are the origin of all knowledge. And Ratah means dosing. So Vidyayam Ratah basically means those engaged in the study of the Vedas, and the so-called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas, because they are disobeying the orders of the Acharya. So these Vedvratas, they search out meanings in every word of the Veda to fulfill their own purposes. They forget that Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books which can be understood only through parampara system of knowledge. So it is important that we get a bona fide spiritual master in our life. Without the availability of a bona fide spiritual master, we will not get the knowledge. So Mundaka Upanishads have clearly mentioned this. But the Vedvratas, they have their own acharyas who are not in the transcendental succession, and so they go into Andhatama, darkest region of ignorance. They fall even more who have no knowledge of the Vedas. So Mayayapahrita Jnana are those who call themselves as gods. So they think that they are gods, and so there is no need of worshipping anyone else. They agree to worship because someone is happening to be rich. So they don't understand their foolishness, and they don't understand how God cannot be entrapped by man. Because if God were to be entrapped by Maya, I would be more powerful than God. Now, these people are saying that God is all powerful. But if he is all powerful, then there is no possibility of him being overpowered by Maya. So these people cannot understand nor answer such questions. They are simply satisfied to have God within themselves. And that is why they are wrong. So, if you were to summarize about Avidya and Vidya, what we see are very basic conceptions. So, Avidya is ignorant pursuit of sense gratification, while Vidya is knowledge for pursuing sense gratification. Avidya is knowledge for pursuit of sense gratification, and Vidya is knowledge for pursuit of Krishna consciousness. Now, Avidya will result in knowledge for bodily maintenance, but Vidya is knowledge for pursuit of Krishna consciousness. So that is the difference between Avidya and Vidya. And when it comes to Avidyam Upasate, what it means is that there is forgetfulness of the Ishavasya principle, which is Avidya. And so, if there is any pursuit of sense gratification, then it is profitless and it is worship of this Avidya. So, basically, to be in ignorance is bad, but to be in ignorance and to claim to be in knowledge is worse. Example, the scientist. But if I say to be in ignorance and to claim to be in knowledge and to condemn real knowledge as ignorance is worse. Like the atheistic scientist. We have seen about Veda Ratah. So they are basically the karma kandis, they mistake the side issues in Vedas as their ultimate objective, and that results in their downfall. And they even misguide people. They misinterpret the Vedas. Tato bhuya iva te tama. That is what these people do. And the Mayayapahrita Jnanas, so they could be the Brahmavadis, the Mayavadis, or the Sanatan Dharmis. So Brahmavadis, as mentioned in 12.4.5, they don't know about Bhagwan. Mayavadis, that is mentioned in the 9th canto. So here they imagine Bhagwan as temporary manifestation of Brahman. And Salatar Dharma, it's God's personal descent. So this is a unique boon. But then that unique boon is made into a pain by impostors. So we need to understand these misconceptions of materialism, monism, and it is only then that we'll be able to get the real Vidya. So materialism is mistaking the counterfeit note to be real. Just like we are. Temporary material activities are considering the essence of life. And monism is mistaking the real note to be counterfeit. So if we say that Prabhupada's activities are illusory, then that is monism. So we have to be very, very careful about this materialism as well as monism if we want to proceed further and prevent ourselves from going into andham tamah. Andham tamah pravishanti ye Vidyayam Upasate tato bhuya ivate tamah ya Vidyayam Ratah. So those who engage in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worst skill are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. So we have to be careful. Andham tamah pravishanti ye Vidyayam Upasate tatah bhuya ivate tamah ya Vidyayam Ratah. That is the essence of this shloka that we are covering today. So let us understand this properly. Let us understand that we have to get the real knowledge. We have to direct ourselves towards the real knowledge so that we are not getting disturbed by any other activities. Because if we keep ourselves being disturbed, distracted, disoriented, then there will be issues, there will be problems. So very, very important that we should not misuse even the Vidya. Otherwise, what we generally feel is, oh, I have attended Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, I have understood Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, now I am also understanding Ishopanishad. So whatever I speak will be the right thing. No. Even that can be dangerous. Because if anything is spoken which is not a part of the parampara, then it's a mistake which cannot be forgiven. It's a pran, and we have to be careful about committing any such prans. So even if you have to speak, we should speak only the summarization part, which is very, very clear. A, B, C, D. Have association of the devotees, keep on reading books, keep on doing chanting. Do use only Krishna Prasad, that is diet, and if possible, DT worship. That is a simple thing which is required in life. And if we are able to do it, concentrate on it, then we'll be saved from Avidya as well as issues coming out of Vidya, which we'll be seeing in the subsequent two shlokas next week. Until then, Hare Krishna.